All right. Bitcoin's being a little boring, so we're just gonna take a look at some different stuff. We will look at Bitcoin as well. Actually, maybe we should even first, but been a little boring, so I figured let's get some patron interaction and let's check out what we got going on. So per usual, new day, new chart. No idea what the date is. 7th. Here we go. And we are recording this. We do have the mics on for the patrons. If there's questions you guys have, you feel free to answer or ask them, but do ask. Don't try not to get me too derailed here, or else it'll just never end. And on top of that, since we're recording it, just be aware of what you're saying in general, because typically I upload them to YouTube kind of privately so that the patrons can view them. And so if anything is said that isn't YouTube appropriate, then I won't be able to upload it. So really shouldn't be a problem, but just a reminder. So let's get into it. While I'm getting set up here, I'm gonna say freaking awesome, guys. We're at almost 100 patrons now, which is mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. When I started this, never thought we would get that far, but here we are. So all right, Bitcoin on the monthly looking good. No real changes here. MACD showing no signs of momentum loss yet, not even with this small red candle being the December candle we're on now, so that's great. Not going to be much else there, so we're just going to flip it down to the weekly. This is what we've been watching for. Been watching for this for a few weeks now. We finally are seeing the first sign of waning momentum on the weekly. However, super important to note here, guys, 6 days 4 hours in this weekly candle. So this loss of momentum, or this slowing of momentum here, really, well, one, it's certainly not confirmed, and two, it's really almost not worth looking at, because we have so much. We've just started this candle, literally not even 24 hours, 20 hours in to what is a 7-day candle. The odds of this flipping, honestly, to the positive momentum side and back down at least once over the next 6 days is extremely likely. So we will keep an eye on that. We don't really want to see the weekly close this way, so that's why we'll be watching the weekly MACD histogram here. However, this is not really a sign of concern yet. RSI actually looks pretty great. We do see this little double top here on our side for the weekly. We do see that. And yeah, of course, that's not super great, but here's my take on this. So we have a double top. This is a class C bearish divergence. And the reason I'm saying this isn't too bad is we really kind of expect to see some kind of bearish divergence, especially after this ridiculous climb. We'd expect to see some kind of retrace here. And to see that bearish divergence show, we don't really love that, but I guess the silver lining here is this double top or class C is really not a strong divergence. In fact, it's the weakest divergence that I guess oscillators or indicators can give us, is this double top. So while it is not a bullish sign, my takeaway basically is it's the weakest form of a bearish sign we can get. And when you're in an uptrend like this, that's kind of the best of the situation you can get, other than continuation signals. So not too worried about that, but something also to keep an eye on in the next few weeks as well. And what the real trick here is going to be is we're going to be looking for that bullish divergence to paint again, and we can see that that's probably it's very likely. The candle we're on right now, again, can't really count it at all, so we might as well just even remove it from where we are, where we're looking. This weekly could easily set a new RSI high, preferably with a new high in price. But what we could also see is with how far it's already moved down, and we look at price here, very easily could paint some bullish divergence on these lows. So the weekly is not showing us anything yet at this point, except for that potential weak bearish divergence. But it is giving us something to look at throughout this week, and that is going to be important. Absolutely. Still ranging at the top of the weekly Bollinger Band. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable the lack of selling here. And we got that beautiful back test. God, I hate the way this looks. We got this beautiful, beautiful back test at 16,175 on the weekly. That was a weekly support. We saw it back here, back in 2018, and then we saw you couldn't ask for anything better. That is almost to the dollar, a perfect weekly back test, and then you have a bullish engulfed candle. I'm having trouble believing what we're seeing on the charts here. So something we can take away from that as well is a break of this level, even a wick under this level at 16,174, not going to bode well. That likely would, if we get that likely will be our signal that we do want to explore this previous major resistance. And we see it back here. We can't see it on the weekly. Was never back tested. So that likely 16,174, that's likely going to be our signal that the market is searching for lower. We're not seeing it yet though. We haven't, we're not at that price. We do have a little really weak bearish divergence, but this is just kind of like looking ahead, being prepared at the possible outcomes of what the next few weeks have to come. I think that would be a logical point to start looking downward if we break that weekly support. So let's flip it to the daily. This is just gibberish. We have a gibberish daily set up here. We talked about this before. That this is the 16.1, this weekly support. You can see buyers came right in at this level. They said, no way, man, we're not losing that level. That combined perfectly with the daily Bollinger Band for a bounce. You can see we're still on top of it. However, I'm not a huge fan of this. I like sideways trading after a rally. Usually that is bullish, but I'm not a huge fan of how close it is to this band here. Really don't want to lose that level. That would be our first signal that maybe we are retesting that 16.1, and then again, like we said, potentially lower. But so far so good. We're on top of it. We see these Bollinger Bands right here. You really can start to see they're starting to squeeze. You saw it start on the 3rd of December. The top band started coming in. Bottom band obviously has been chasing price the whole time. But as these squeeze and the trading range tightened, that really sets us up for one of those two big move scenarios. The tighter they become, typically the stronger the move. So that's giving us a sign that though volatility is low right now, we are approaching a new cycle or a new part of volatility coming up here. Oops. Where did that other Bollinger Band go? There we go. I really liked, I figured this out in the other episode, the other live the other day. This is a trick I use on many different things, but I'd never use it for Bollinger Bands. And I really like this actually. So what we're seeing here now, what's funny is I've never seen any other TAs do this. This is another like Tom Crown made up thing, is manipulating the inputs to view data on different time frames. So what we're able to do by changing the input on the Bollinger Band here is we're able to actually view the weekly Bollinger Band. And if we go back to the weekly, we'll see that it's exactly the same. Let me see. We'll see it's exactly the same on the daily here as on the weekly, and that can be really nice for looking at price action in detail. You can see like right here, was it September, October? We touched the band, hadn't really touched it since 27th of April, and so if we go back on the daily, we'll see that this is actually identical due to the way we've manipulated the inputs. So we see September, October touching the band, and back here was the previous touch that we looked at. So I really like this. This has also given me kind of something I didn't expect, is we're kind of seeing the top of the weekly band holding as support. Isn't that strange? Look at these touches. We have so many wicks, and it seems that the buyers just keep coming in. We have not closed a single candle underneath the weekly top band since October 21st. Can't say I've ever heard anyone do this either, but we may be able to use this as well, no, that is the 20. For whatever reason, that's also the 20 daily, isn't it? Not quite. Never mind. running very close to the middle band for the daily. That's interesting. Well, I've never heard anyone do this, but we might even be able to use this weekly top band when we look at it on the daily chart. We might even be able to use this as a line of support. We might even use that for potentially a signal to enter a trade. If we see a daily candle close below it, we may look to, I mean, at least, we're looking for that test of the middle band, but shorter term, maybe the bottom of the daily band, etc. It's just pretty remarkable how well they line up. They started touching right about here, November 16th, and since they're trending almost parallel. It's pretty spicy, actually. I like that. So yeah, not gonna find that TA anywhere else. I'm pretty sure I invented it. I don't know. Anyway, so the daily, we have this, clearly V-shaped recovery off of our weekly support. That's good, and now we're trading sideways. Typically, trading sideways after a move up is a good sign. We see that back here. We had 3 months this year of sideways trading before breaking up. And then yes, you can say, well, what about right here? I would agree. This would be the rarer exception. We moved up, went sideways, and then sold back off. However, you see, when the market's bullish, almost all sideways trading leads to a move up. It's really remarkable. See it here. We see it here. It's not as visible here, but this was still some sideways trading. So to see it trade sideways is not the end of the world. I personally just believe that the structure that's being built here, it's on the macro sense, it just hasn't quite shown yet. It just doesn't look like a completed pattern.
I'm right in thinking it's good that we're going sideways here because
just doesn't look like a completed pattern here. Looks like there's going to be some other move that's going to create some clarity as to what we're really seeing, because V-shaped recovery, sure, but if we get a V-shaped recovery, we would have expected to see continuation. We may be seeing a flag paint out here. That's possible. Just something about this catches my eye in the sense of we haven't quite seen the structure play out. Would not surprise me to see a higher low again, or a higher low again with another rejection here, and then maybe even a third one, and that would form some kind of running flat bullish signal. That would be nice, but we don't have that yet. Our projection that we've been following, and I'm still in the opinion of this is the most likely, is that we do want to test that 13.8, but we just haven't seen it yet. I still think this is the most probable, but I still stand behind this, the sentiment of, and if you take profit here looking to rebuy down at 13, that 13 may never come. I just think the risk to reward there is awful, because if we get a break up, man, you're not going to get a chance to get back in. A break up is going to lead us a nice, at least 10%, maybe more up, like immediately, and unlikely to come back to this level. So that's why I don't like the risk to reward here. Even if we go up, say 27 and pull back, we're not going to cleanly come back to this level. You're not going to get a chance to get back in. And so my recommendation has been, still is, don't be afraid if we come down and test this as support. This actually may be an awesome opportunity to add in new fiat. This may be a wonderful opportunity, but I really don't think it's a good idea to try to play this move. It very easily just could not come. But I do think great opportunity. I have some limit buy orders that have been sitting for over a year, way down here in like the 3s and 2s. I might take these orders, cancel them, and put them up there at that 13.8. Even though I would actually be likely buying back in for a loss on a lot of those. That's how good of an opportunity I believe it could be for new fiat. It's just not guaranteed, so it's risky. Daily MACD is giving us all kinds of stuff. We looked at this the other day. I think it was on the 5th, and this candle was a light red. It was longer. It was showing that there was increasing momentum. And actually, while we were live, we saw it go we saw it actually recede and become this darker red line again, and then move back out. Really kind of bounced back and forth. I guess it did close with some waning momentum. That's kind of what we were talking about on the weekly there. The weekly's still open, and it's very likely we'll see that same kind of action. That's why we don't read in too much to the current candles before they close here. What I'm not a huge fan of is this new candle of today. This is a much longer, this is a much stronger selling impulse than the previous one. We do have only 3 hours, which isn't quite the 6-day scenario that we have in the weekly. So unless we see a rally into this close today, we will see a potential building of the bearish momentum here, signified by these larger swings to the downside on the daily. So this is pretty choppy. Another reason I really don't think trading this level, especially in USD pair, is a wise choice. This is just choppy trading, man. You had a really smooth, impulse of selling momentum, and then smoothly waned, and then now we're getting this chop, and that usually makes for some pretty difficult or not very appetizing trading. So let's burn through this here. Looks like we're setting up multiple small daily resistance levels here. You can see at these daily closes, we really can take all of them. They're all pretty valid. As well as we do have potentially a support here as well. It's not really tested. But we see the highs coming down and the lows coming up. And that really does argue in favor of the original "are we in a flag" scenario. Until we see either a higher high or a lower low locally, it's just a flag. So what I did just notice is we do have a lower daily close here versus here. Can't really determine divergence yet. Maybe the longer or the shorter time frames, like the 12-hour, will show us. Yeah, but at this point we really can't determine anything. So let's flip it to the 12-hour. The 12-hour has been such a strange time frame lately. Okay, the 12-hour showing gaining selling momentum as well, so that doesn't favor what we just looked at on the daily here, in the sense of 12-hour maybe leading up to this daily closing with that selling momentum growth that we don't really want to see, but we don't really have a choice either. It is just incredible how long this 12-hour has been in the same condition. Since early October, we've seen bearish divergence paint over and over and over and over again. And it's, even if you're not super familiar with divergence, it's pretty easy to see. We're just continuing to make lower highs here over and over and over again. I can't even count how many examples there are right here in front of us, 10, 15, maybe more. And it may be even potentially picking up its pace a little bit as we see these highs are coming down faster. And this whole time, you don't really need to even look at the chart. This whole time we've been making higher highs in price. So that is divergence. That is bearish divergence. It's not really what we want to see, but it just doesn't seem to be impacting the market. We haven't seen any significant sell-off. Really, this 19.5 to 16.1, that's a baby sell-off. That's a sell-off for ants, man. That's nothing. So it's just an odd scenario. Not what I would expect to see with such powerful bearish divergence painting on every single high. For the market, at least the bears, to be unable to bring the price down in any meaningful way is very surprising, and not really what we're used to. Not what we're used to seeing over the last few years here. So on 12-hour, what else do we have? Middle Bollinger Band's looking good. We're right above price. CFEG. Yep. When you look at this stuff long enough, you don't even need to use the indicators. You just can tell where they are. TK, exactly where I thought it would be, right where price is, of course. This is going to be a pivotal 12-hour close here for sure. The reason being is we don't want to lose the Middle Bollinger Band here. We don't want to lose that. And we also don't want to lose this 12-hour TK, this green line. And they're really, really close together. So maybe this is a good spot for one of our little boxes, little rectangles. We're looking to close this 12-hour above 19,063, currently at 19,075, so possible. And Yeah, that's really margin of error territory. But yeah, we're not getting too many great signals. I do like that we're above the middle band though. If we do reach 18,866 today, I would really like to see a bounce. We don't want to lose this. You can see the last time we lost it was on that sell-off, and really previous to that, we haven't lost it at all since this rally started. So we're certainly keeping an eye on that 12-hour for days or weeks now. We're gonna take a look at these short time frames real quick. Lowest low, yep. Everything is in alignment there. Nothing too surprising. I said earlier in the episode on the daily, we were seeing those Bollinger Bands tighten, and that's really much easier to see here on the 4-hour. And you can see even the most recent example back here on the late November, we saw these bands get very tight, and then we got that volatility, and that's what I was talking about on the daily. We're seeing that start to line up, so that would suggest an even bigger volatile move. These bands got tight enough, price hit the top of the Bollinger Bands and got shot down to the bottom, actually, and then shot back to the top. So that's that's actually a really good local example of what I was talking about with the Bollinger Bands here. And we can see now on the 4-hour, this is getting even tighter than over here. So this is really suggesting that the market is running out of time, in the sense of running out of sideways trading time. The closer these get together, like back here, the more probable and the stronger typically the moves become. This is a good example on the 4th of November. Bands got very tight, pushed to the top, and the middle band held as support, and we started rocketing up. Unfortunately, the 4-hour's under the middle band. Not ideal. So we actually have a bunch of targets here for this daily close that we'd like to see. We'd really like to see this 4-hour close above the 4-hour middle band, because that closes with the daily today. That's at 19,110. I'm actually going to move our box up just a little bit here. And let's actually make it red, because in theory, this is where we don't want the daily to close. In theory, we'd like it to close above these levels for a more bullish signal. And it's funny how that fits really well with the 4-hour band there. Spookily tight, actually. We did come off this bullish divergence. We pointed that out the other day. Didn't really do much, though. We don't have any bearish divergence on these highs locally. That's great. No divergence is never a bad thing. No divergence simply means we're just not getting a signal. That's okay. 4-hour, dang, in agreement with the 12-hour and the daily, also showing increasing selling momentum. It's really strange to see that, but not see any real change in price here. I'm not sure what price action this is, but we can see that we had a swing high, meaning, if you call it that, these two little bumps. Then we have another one. And so we have some kind of divergence here. We have a high and a higher high. So let's see what happened in price there. Here and here. Well, so there's local bearish divergence on the 4-hour, and that makes sense because now we're seeing some selling. We had a high and a lower high. Bulls failed to take the price higher, and so that created bearish divergence, and boom, pretty predictably sold off. The saving grace, of course, though, is that we also had just come off this bullish divergence, so they're really just canceling each other out, and that really does just play in favor of maybe this flag formation appearing in front of us. Let's get rid of this. Oop. Let's look at this quickly. Nice, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so the 4-hour, I don't typically use Ichi on small time frames. The 4-hour is about the smallest. I'll really rely on it. We do see some indecision here. The saving grace of that indecision is the most recent cross is actually a bullish cross. We see this arrow right here. We are above the cloud, this green area right here. And so that is a very bullish signal on the 4-hour, which is great because our other indicators are not giving us that. So we have a little conflicting information. It's not too one-sided now. We have some favor in both directions, which is really a good sight at this point. Something of note, though, on the 4-hour, until December 9th, we do have that thing we don't really like to see that often. We have a really fat, flat cloud here. This will be an attractive price to the market. Funny enough, so we can see this is a very flat cloud. There's no price change. Lots of distance in between it. So this is, I guess I call it the fat flat. Usually I say flat topped, but it applies to the bottom as well. These areas tend to be very magnetic to price. And actually, this looks pretty good. If you were here when we started, we were all back on the daily. I was talking about some kind of running flat pattern where we see a series of higher lows with a flat top being rejected. And those typically break out. So that would be a bullish formation. But that 4-hour cloud actually backs this up really well. If we kind of imagine it, I almost wish I could go back and see where I placed those lines, because I would bet that that low that I just doodled is close to this area. It's really only going to be in effect here until the 9th of December at 1200 hours. So it's halfway through the day. After that, we really escape the power of it in general. But that would line up with kind of what we're looking at here. We see another rejection from the top. Maybe we take it down again. That would be probably the most bullish setup that I can see possibly painting here. That would be very nice. But really it's speculation. We only have, using our eyes saying, hey, this looks like we could be seeing this pattern paint. Again, of course, we could just be seeing a flag paint here. But the 4-hour suggesting that this level, let me see where that is for you guys. 18,044. Top of it, 18,126. This should be a magnetic or an attractive point to price, but it doesn't have to hit. But it does fit that that pattern that we were thinking or kind of speculating about. So if we do see a break of, let's see where our low is here, 18.5, that would absolutely be my short-term target. Absolutely would be in that 18.1 to 18,000 range to satisfy that 4-hour cloud. We're going to look real tight here on the time frame, then we're going to be done with the old Bitcoin. And we just see the highs coming down, lows coming up. We can basically see the same price action here. I'm sure there's some kind of divergence, but this is really agreeing with price. We're seeing the lows come up and the highs come down without even looking at the chart. Yep, that's really the same thing minus, no, it's exactly the same thing. We see the lows come up at the same time and we see the highs coming down at the same time. So there's not really divergence on the 1 hour here. I didn't exactly expect there to be anyway. It's pretty much just an agreement. I'm sure if we look closer, we can find something. Not really. Not really. Okay, the 1 hour is pretty neutral. That has been the case actually for many days, so that shouldn't surprise me. This is the last thing I wanted to look at here is the moving averages on the 1 hour. So we have this red box here. It's fun how it lines up almost perfectly. And this was derived from the longer time frames here. Lines up almost perfectly with where the hourly moving averages are. Likely to be tested here. We saw a break of the 200, which we hadn't really seen in a while. You can see there was buying pressure there back in the 1st of December. But we saw this break of it today. It did back test it. It's good to see that it's back over. However, this is, I guess this can be another rectangle of ours. This is going to be a green one because this is where we want price to go. We want price to come back up to here all the way. I mean, to the 50 minimum. 50 minimum, but we really want to see a close above. So highly likely we see a move to that area today. And that's likely going to be the decision. When we get to that 50 on the hourly, we're either going to see that breakdown that we were speculating, in this box. If we see a real sell-off, that could bring us down to there. Ideally, what we want to see is a move back above this 50 yellow moving average here, a pullback to it. And what we'll see is these moving averages will continue to move up and start pointing up more and more. And that will be if that 50 can hold on a back test, that's going to bring us back with a very high probability, at least to this local high. And that would fit into really what we're speculating. This is all just going to be speculation at this point, and that's why I've really been pushing. This is not an ideal trading range. It's not an ideal trading time, as much as I'm sure some of you feel the urge to right now. There's really just no certainty in either direction. Not that there ever is, but there's even less than usual. So this hourly is going to play a huge part today. It's going to want to come test these averages. You can see it's already happening, really. And what it does here, so the 50 right now is at 19,169. What Bitcoin does once it reaches that 50 moving average is likely going to show us what the rest of the day has in store for us. Rejection from that level will be very bearish. It could still possibly find support back at the 200. You know, like this is possible, but I wouldn't have super high hopes on that kind of move here. I would almost expect if we see a rejection from the 50 that we look down to this not great daily close box, and if we can retake it, close above it, hopefully backtest it even for extra strength, but it doesn't have to, then that likely will set the daily up for the next few days to retest our 19.5-ish area. That would be pretty solid. So there's our little breakdown. We got through Bitcoin. Awesome. I don't think I do it faster than usual. 31 minutes. All right. Crap. So we're going to wrap it up, but I want to go through some of these little trades that we threw together the other day. These weren't like official posts or anything. Didn't take nearly as much time researching the ones we're about to go through. I just want to kind of see how they've worked out. We see that our dollar short so far has played out godly. On the 4-hour, we saw a rejection from the previous, I guess, support, but now resistance as we expected. That's great. It's great for this trade. Seeing it slow down. Do we have anything else going on there? 4-hour shows a little waning momentum. Man, the dollar just looks so hungry for this 90 range, if not lower, that it's hard to even imagine going long on the dollar here. So this trade's sitting pretty, actually, at this point. 0.3%. That's really a big percent in Forex, but actually went as profitable as 0.57%. Those are big numbers in Forex, man. Bitcoin gets us kind of used to these big changes like 10, 20, 50%. In Forex, 1% move is ridiculous. So this trade's looking pretty awesome. Actually, what I'd like to do is set an alert here. So we'll say Dixie patron trade stopped out. And then we'll set another alert down here. Patron trade win, whatever. Good enough. All right, so dollar not looking too great in my opinion. We'll see how that plays out. NASDAQ 100, of course, we were long up to our target, and that's just soaring. Just solid ass trade there. Solid trade there as well. We'll see how that plays out. I'm not a super stock guy. I've been hitting pretty good on them though. I don't care. Hitting pretty good on them lately though, so I don't have any problem looking at them. There we go. All right, that seems to be on path. 4-hour is waning off, but the RSI is saying it might not be done, so I'm still pretty confident in that 13,000 here on the NASDAQ 100 index. That trade's looking good. S&P 500. Not the best candle today. Oh wait, of course. It's not trading right now. It's Monday. Man, my days are all messed up. Still in profit. Not looking that great. I don't like to see this candle here. Was expecting it to mirror more of the NASDAQ 100 index. But it's not off the table. Not off the table. If we look at the 4-hour, this could just be a back test after a breakout, a hook and go. So I think our target's still good. I think this trade's probably still solid. 3,870 actually might be the real target, but I just took this more conservative for 2.5 risk to reward up to the just the measured move at 3785. So far, so good. I probably should just do this when I'm not recording and showing you guys, but my OCD won't let me. Really, I just know that I'll forget. So there we go. Now we'll know if these win or lose. Bitcoin dominance thing we should definitely touch on. Flipping back to positive momentum here on the daily. RSI still looks like crap. You know, we called this and we made trades based on this that played out pretty darn well. What we see here doesn't look too great. This does look like a bear flag or a momentum leg that wants to break down. However, I really don't think that's what's going to happen here. Sometimes TA just can't give you the answers. Let's see the weekly a little better maybe. Oh yeah, that's why. Next week we should see something interesting. We're pegged right in between the 50 and 100. So that whatever direction it moves, if you see a break of the 100, we're likely coming back down to test that 200 again. If you see a break of the 50, probably suggests a retest of the highs. This is Bitcoin dominance. This isn't actually really that tradable directly, but it gives us a really good outlook on trades for Bitcoin paired alts. For instance, we looked here potentially for entry into altcoin Bitcoin pairs, and then literally on the 23rd here, we saw that it hit our target, actually hit our FAR target and bounced, and that was actually our signal to re-enter. And as this moves back up, we're hoping that it retests this high a little bit, and that can be again 1 2 3 our signal to exit. So we'll see what happens. Weekly is stuck right here, likely to really just range there until it sees a breakout, because it's between, these are weekly moving averages. These are monstrous. They're not going to be easily broken really in either direction. So pattern looks like crap, but something tells me that it's not going to play out as a bear flag. More on that when I have some kind of actual evidence I can provide you outside of just my experience tells me unlikely. Unless Bitcoin ranges sideways for, I don't know, maybe the entire first quarter of next year or something, you know, like into 2021, unless it really doesn't make a new high or low, the odds of this moving back up is very good. So we'll keep updating. NASDAQ, this is the same. These freaking stock tickers get me so confused. I don't know. Whatever this is, US Tech 100. This trade looks like it's also sitting in pretty good. Sitting pretty, at least for now. We have a new high here on the 4-hour. We look to go long really right here at the start of that last candle, but this chart was actually set up before that. I don't know what happened. Either way. RSI is ugly, but at least it's setting highs locally. That 13,000 target looks decent. Crow, this one is was actually a patron post. This Crow trade, guys, is either going to be the best trade you've ever made, or it's just going to get stopped really quickly. This is knife catching at its best, and what we really were hoping to do here is when we look left, we were looking at this previous all-time low in Bitcoin pair, and we were looking to make a trade off of that. Unfortunately, what we do see is it did set a lower low, so Crow BTC, this looks ugly AF at this point, literally just because it lost that 331 sat previous low, only traded down to 327, so didn't actually technically trigger our stop loss per se. I would absolutely get rid of this under 325, but the reason this could be a great trade is when you zoom out, this has spent so much time in the red, man. So much freaking time in the red. A bounce at some point is almost inevitable, and we were attempting to make a trade off of that low to capture some of that bounce. So we have two targets. If you are still in this trade or made this trade, best of luck. That's why we set our stop losses at like 2%, because this is a very high risk trade. because we're just catching the knife here, but this could play out epically, man. If someone catches this and we don't see another selling leg down, this could be an incredible trade here for us. Take a look at everything else. What do we got? Litecoin. Unfortunately, this one got stopped out. So minus 1.5. This none of these were posted on Patreon because these were all much more hastily made, not researched in my typical manner. But I was just in the zone one day and just fired these off. So Litecoin, stop this out. This is a bunch of gibberish. This, in my opinion, backs up what I was saying. Bitcoin, we're seeing it on Ethereum, we're seeing it on Litecoin. It's painting some kind of pattern, and we're really just not. It just hasn't shown yet. It really hasn't. Clearly, right here we could see, hey, that's a bear flag. That looks like a bear flag. I agree. We see that how important really that 8450 resistance is. You know, that resistance dates back way long ago, months ago, and even locally here in the last 4 daily candles we see it's still acting as resistance. We see here it acted as resistance. Man, I just don't even know what to say. This is a strange spot to be in. If I wasn't in Litecoin, I would not look to take a new position on it right now, simply because of that. If you have been a patron for a while and you took our little tip off here some time ago, I forget what the date was, early November. If you entered as per the recommendation of that post, I would just sit tight because you probably are sitting on a position that may never be available again. So new position, probably not a great idea. Sitting on one that's in profit, likely the right choice here. Ren, I didn't even do any TA on this. Just looks like a flag. Cool. Oh, that's a weekly. Dang, that's a monster flag. Just don't see anything. This is what we're seeing everywhere. It's just lack of anything. There could be actually a Ren trade here as well. Don't really. Again, I'm just doing this. Doing these quickly. This is not thought out. This is not super recommended. But this is like just how my brain works. You guys can get a little bit more into my mindset here. If you were looking for some kind of gambly, but look for support on that 50, which actually is looking unlikely due to the 100. But you may be able to play it up to this target. I don't really recommend this trade, but that's just an example of when I look at a chart, what I see. When these are close together, that gives us a defined area. We can say, hey, if we see price touch here, but it fails to fall through both of these moving averages, we're likely to get a bounce. And that's something that actually comes into my TA a lot. So yeah, screw Ren. I wouldn't suggest it at the moment. One, we didn't really do any TA on it either. Let's see, what else do we got? ADA still looking fly. Still looking very fly. Same situation, man. There's just no edge on any of this right now. Everything is just following Bitcoin. I like that cloud though. Everything is just following Bitcoin, waiting for it to give it just some kind of signal as to like where we're going. So this is likely going to be everything across the market at this point is going to have this same pattern of just really no divergence and higher lows, lower highs. It's all likely going to break out at the same time. Our indicators are not helping us here. Lost the 100, man. So these, like, I love it, but sometimes this just like sucks because there's not much to like even be said about these. They're all in the same pattern. There's no real divergence showing. Yeah. What I will say is the on the daily, the 100 and 200 here being really close, kissing, air quotes kissing. This has potential if we see a break to the upside of this ADA, if we see this triangle pennant, whatever, if we see that high retested, these daily moving averages might suggest that that test could be real, could be a real deal. So keep your eye on ADA, man. This has a spicy setup that just as easily could break down. We see something like that here, very similar. However, you can see that the moving average setup was much different. So I'm actually pretty bullish on ADA in general. I like this chart more than most coins. This energy web crap. This is totally just a this is just a hopium trade because of pi support. I wouldn't take this trade. In fact, please don't. Verge, nothing interesting. Made, let's see. Wow, Made, good job, Made. Made being a good little coin, man. Looking to go long, still there. Hoping to see that 50 cent or 75 cents. Unlike other things, actually is painting some divergence. We have a little bullish divergence on our lows here. No real issues on our highs. Made might have a good trade here. This might actually be the only coin so far that I think is a decent trade. It has some kind of signals for us. Bezos still just doing this descending trend thing, but typically those break up. So that's why in our quick kind of day of frenzy trades, we were looking for a long here. Really, you're just leveraging that same thing we were looking at Crow. We're leveraging that we're not going to get another lower low, and that we're going to retest either the previous resistance or even the 0.5 to 618 retrace of the move. So this is a decent trade, actually, I think, especially because at this point, if you weren't in it and you wanted to enter, your stop would be pretty close, only 5%, and there is some decent upside potential. It's hard to recommend anything at this point. It's really just waiting for the corn. I do like how this is showing no signs of momentum, this like gradual bleed. This is showing very little or no momentum, so that's nice. Our XRP broke out of our wedge. Looks like it back tested it. Honestly, guys, I would stay the F away from XRP if you're not in it right now. We have marked here on the 12th. That's the Spark airdrop. Really, no matter what happens, I think it's very likely to rally into the date. And 12 hours, 24 hours, maybe even down to 4 hours before, I think we see a big sell-off. I've seen this happen over and over again with airdrops and coins. Doesn't mean XRP's screwed long-term or anything, but that's just crypto 101, man. When you have a defined event, you pump right before it, and then you take profit as closely as you can before the event actually happens. As you know, the spark distribution happens here, and all these people that FOMO'd in to get the spark sell their XRP because I just wanted that coin or whatever, and that puts extra selling pressure on. So I don't advise taking this at this point either. Oh, nice, it didn't get stopped out. But I wouldn't advise taking this. And if you do have XRP, I would look to take some profit before that December 12th target for that airdrop. I know you guys want that airdrop. They're very tempting, but man, I've never seen an airdrop worth diddly. So don't wreck yourself. Don't wreck yourself trying to get it. If you have some, like I have some XRP, I'm just, you know, I didn't really plan on doing anything with it. I'm just going to get the airdrop. I'm not going to do anything because I've just had it for years and I don't really care about it. So if you're in that situation, you don't really need to like sell it before the drop. But if you're getting in recently or at this pump here, or if you're buying it for the airdrop, I would highly recommend against that.